Maria Santos pushed through the heavy wooden door of Le Chandelier restaurant at exactly 4:30 in the afternoon. She was never late. In 3 years of working at this fancy restaurant, she had never missed a shift and never arrived even 1 minute after her scheduled time. Her mother had taught her that people like them could not afford to make mistakes. They had to be better, work harder, and never give anyone a reason to complain. The restaurant was quiet at this hour. The lunch crowd had left and the dinner guests would not arrive for another 2 hours. Maria liked this peaceful time. She could prepare her station, fold the white napkins into perfect shapes, and polish the wine glasses until they shined like diamonds. The crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, turned off now to save electricity. When they lit up at night, they scattered light across the whole dining room like thousands of tiny stars. Maria thought they were the most beautiful things she had ever seen. She walked through the empty dining room toward the staff area in the back. Her shoes made soft sounds on the expensive carpet. Everything in Le Chandelier was expensive. The plates cost more than she made in a week. The wine bottles on display cost more than her rent. Sometimes Maria wondered what it felt like to be the kind of person who could afford to eat here, without worrying about the price. In the staff room, she changed into her work uniform. Black pants, white shirt, black vest, and a name tag that said Maria in small letters. She tied her long dark hair back into a neat bun. No jewelry, except for the small silver cross her mother had given her on her 15th birthday. She looked at herself in the mirror and saw what she always saw. A waitress. Just a waitress. Nothing special. 28 years old and still serving other people their food. Maria thought about this every single day. When she was younger, she had dreamed of different things. She had dreamed of standing on a stage with bright lights shining down on her. She had dreamed of singing so beautifully that people would stop everything just to listen. She had dreamed of wearing gorgeous dresses and hearing applause that sounded like thunder. Those had been good dreams, sweet dreams. But dreams did not pay the bills. Her mother needed medicine for her heart condition. Her younger brother Diego was in his 2nd year of community college, trying to become an engineer. The rent was due on the 1st of every month without fail. The electricity bill, the water bill, the phone bill, they all came like clockwork. Maria's paycheck from Le Chandelier, plus her tips, was just enough to cover everything. Just enough and not a dollar more. There was no room for dreams in a budget like that. She remembered the day she had decided to give up singing. It was 10 years ago, right after her father died. He had been a construction worker who fell from a building. One moment he was alive and the next moment he was gone. Just like that. The family had fallen apart financially. Maria had been accepted to a performing arts school in the city, a real school where she could study music and theater. But the tuition was impossible. Even with scholarships, they could not afford it. Someone had to work. Someone had to take care of the family. Maria was the oldest. It had to be her, so she had put her dreams in a shoebox. Literally a shoebox, an old Nike box that had once held her father's sneakers. Inside, she placed her high school recital programs, photos from the drama club, the acceptance letter from the arts school, a recording of her singing at a local talent show, and her father's favorite tie that he had worn to her performances. She pushed the box under her bed and tried to forget about it. Most days she succeeded. Maria finished getting ready and walked back out to the dining room. The other servers were arriving now. Jessica, who was always talking about her boyfriend, Marcus, who made everyone laugh with his jokes, Caroline, who was studying to be a lawyer and only worked here for extra money. They were all nice enough, but Maria did not feel close to them. She kept to herself mostly. It was easier that way. The manager, Mr. Peterson, came out of his office. He was a thin man with gray hair and a permanent frown. He always looked like he had just tasted something bitter. He clapped his hands to get everyone's attention. "Listen up, everyone," he said in his sharp voice. "We have a full house tonight. 2 birthday parties, 1 anniversary, and several regular customers. I expect perfect service, no mistakes. Is that clear?" Everyone nodded. Maria checked her section. She had been assigned tables near the small stage where the pianist played during dinner. She did not mind. She actually liked being near the music, even though it sometimes made her heart ache with memories of what could have been. At 6 o'clock, the crystal chandeliers lit up. The restaurant transformed from a quiet, plain space into something magical. Light bounced off every surface. The chandeliers seemed to dance in the air. The white tablecloths glowed softly. Maria understood why people were willing to pay so much to eat here. It was not just about the food. It was about feeling special, even if only for a few hours. The first guests arrived, a couple celebrating their anniversary. They held hands across the table and looked at each other like they were the only two people in the world. Maria smiled at them, took their order, and brought them champagne. She was good at her job. She knew when to appear and when to disappear. She knew how to make people feel important without being pushy. She knew how to read faces and understand what people needed before they asked. But inside, she felt hollow, empty, like she was watching her own life from far away, like she was acting in a play where nothing was real. She went through the motions: smile, take the order, bring the food, clear the plates, smile again, thank you for coming, please visit us again. Over and over every single night. At 7:30, the pianist arrived. His name was Robert, an older man with white hair and gentle hands. He sat at the beautiful black piano near the window and began to play. Soft jazz melodies filled the restaurant. Maria found herself humming along as she walked between tables. She could not help it. Music was in her blood, in her bones, in every breath she took. Even though she had locked away her dreams, the music remained. She carried a tray of appetizers to table 12. As she set down the plates, her fingers tapped a rhythm against the tray. Tap, 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 pause, tap, tap. It was the rhythm of an old song she used to sing in high school, a song from a musical about hope and second chances. She caught herself doing it and stopped. Silly, she thought. Childish. That part of her life was over. The dinner service went smoothly. Maria moved through her section like a dancer, her body remembering the choreography of service. Reach, lift, place, turn, smile, speak, listen, nod. She had done this thousands of times. Her mind could wander while her body did the work automatically. She thought about her mother at home. Rosa Santos had once been a singer too in Mexico before she came to America. She used to sing while cooking, while cleaning, while hanging laundry on the line. Her voice had been warm and rich like honey, but years of hard work and worry had worn her down. Now she rarely sang. She saved her strength for more important things like staying alive. Maria wondered if she would become like her mother. Would her voice disappear too slowly until one day she realized she had not sung in years? Would she wake up at 50 or 60 and realize she had spent her entire life serving other people's dreams while her own died of neglect? A woman at table 9 raised her hand slightly. Maria saw it immediately and went over. Yes, ma'am, how can I help you? This salmon is cooked perfectly, the woman said with a bright smile. Please give my compliments to the chef. Of course I will let him know, Maria replied warmly. These small interactions made up her days. Polite exchanges about food, about the weather, about nothing important. The guests never asked about her life. They never wondered if she had dreams or fears or hopes. To them, she was just part of the restaurant, like the chairs or the chandeliers. Present but not really seen. The evening continued. More guests arrived. The dining room filled with conversation and laughter. Robert played song after song on the piano, his fingers moving across the keys like water flowing. Maria found herself standing still for a moment, just listening. The song was beautiful, something classical that she did not recognize. She closed her eyes for just a second. In that second, she was not a waitress. She was standing on a stage and the lights were warm on her face and she was singing. Her voice soared high and strong. People in the audience were completely quiet, hanging on every note. She felt alive, truly alive, for the first time in years. Maria! Mr. Peterson's voice cut through her daydream like a knife. Table 6 needs water. She opened her eyes and the dream vanished. She was just Maria, the waitress again, standing in the middle of Le Chandelier with a water pitcher in her hand. She hurried to table 6, apologizing for the delay. The hours passed. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. The restaurant began to empty. The last guests paid their bills and left. Maria cleared the tables in her section, wiping down each one carefully. She counted her tips. Not bad tonight. Enough to buy her mother's medicine and still have some left over for groceries. In the staff room, she changed back into her regular clothes. Jeans and a simple blue sweater. She took the money from her apron and put it carefully in her purse. Every dollar mattered. Every single one. Jessica was getting ready to leave too. Hey, Maria, she said. Some of us are going to get drinks. Want to come? Maria shook her head. Thank you, but I need to get home. My mother will be waiting. Jessica shrugged. Okay, see you tomorrow. Maria walked out through the back door into the cold night air. The parking lot was dark and quiet. Her old car sat in the corner, a 15-year-old Honda that barely ran but somehow kept going just like her. She got in and started the engine. It coughed and complained but finally turned over. As she drove through the city streets toward home, she passed other restaurants, closed shops, people walking dogs, couples holding hands. Normal life happening all around her. She turned on the radio and a song came on. A woman with a powerful voice singing about freedom and flying away. Maria turned it off. It hurt too much to listen. She arrived at the small apartment building where she lived with her mother and brother. It was not much, just a 2-bedroom place on the 3rd floor, but it was clean and safe and theirs. She climbed the stairs slowly. Her feet hurt from standing all night. Her back ached. She was only 28, but sometimes felt twice that age. Inside the apartment, her mother was asleep on the couch with the television on. Maria turned off the TV and covered her mother with a blanket. Rosa looked peaceful in sleep, her face relaxed. Maria kissed her forehead gently. In her small bedroom, Maria sat on the edge of her bed. She thought about reaching under the bed and pulling out that old shoebox. She thought about opening it and looking at the reminders of who she used to want to be, but she did not. What was the point? Looking at the past would not change the present. Dreams did not pay bills. Songs did not put food on the table. She changed into her pajamas and lay down. Through the thin walls, she could hear her brother Diego studying in his room, probably memorizing engineering formulas. At least one of them would make it out. At least one of them would have a better life. Maria closed her eyes. Tomorrow she would wake up and do it all again. Walk into Le Chandelier, put on her uniform, serve food, carry trays, smile at strangers, watch the crystal chandeliers light up, listen to Robert play piano, go home, sleep, repeat. This was her life now. This was all it would ever be. She had made her choice 10 years ago, and choices had consequences. Some people got to chase their dreams. Others had to be practical. Others had to sacrifice. That was just how the world worked. But as she drifted off to sleep, Maria hummed. Quietly, so quietly that even she barely heard it, a few notes of that old song from high school, the one about hope and second chances, the one about dreams that refused to die. The song stayed with her in her dreams that night, where she could be anyone she wanted to be, where crystal lights shined just for her, where her voice could finally be heard. Friday evening came like any other Friday. Maria arrived at Le Chandelier at 4:30, exactly on time as always. The restaurant felt different today, though. There was energy in the air, a kind of nervous excitement that made all the staff move a little faster than usual. Maria noticed Mr. Peterson checking his watch repeatedly and running his hand through his thinning hair, something he only did when he was stressed. In the staff room, Maria found Jessica and Marcus whispering together. They stopped talking when she walked in, which was strange. Jessica usually never stopped talking. What is happening? Maria asked as she opened her locker. Jessica's eyes were wide. Girl, tonight is crazy. We have the Ashford party. You know, the Ashford family? They own half the buildings in this city. They booked the entire private dining room for some big celebration. Mr. Peterson is freaking out because everything has to be absolutely perfect. Marcus nodded. Yeah, and get this. Mr. Cortez himself is coming. The owner. I have worked here for 2 years and never seen him. He usually just stays in his office downtown and counts his money. Maria did not care much about rich people and their parties. She had served plenty of important people before. They were just people who happened to have more money. They ordered food, they ate it, they left. The end. But she could understand why Mr. Peterson was nervous. If something went wrong with a party this important, there would be consequences. She changed into her uniform and went out to check her section. Tonight she had tables in the main dining room again, near the piano. The private dining room where the Ashford party would be was on the other side of the restaurant, completely separate. At least she would not have to deal with that pressure. At 5 o'clock, Mr. Peterson gathered all the staff for a meeting. His face was red and his voice was higher than normal. Tonight is extremely important, he said. The Ashford party starts at 7. They have requested our finest menu, our best wines, and live music throughout the evening. I have arranged for Diane Mitchell to sing. She performs at several top restaurants in the city and has a beautiful voice. This will add a special touch to the evening. Maria had heard of Diane Mitchell. She was a local singer who worked the fancy restaurant circuit. She had a good voice, professional and polished. Maria had never met her, but had heard recordings. The kind of singer who never made mistakes, never took risks, just delivered exactly what rich people wanted to hear while they ate their expensive steaks. However, Mr. Peterson continued, and his voice got even tighter. Diane just called. She is sick, very sick. She cannot perform tonight. There was a moment of complete silence. Then everyone started talking at once. Mr. Peterson held up his hand for quiet, but his hand was shaking slightly. I have been calling every performer I know for the past hour, he said. It is Friday night. Everyone is already booked. I cannot find anyone on such short notice. He looked like he might cry. Mr. Cortez is going to be very disappointed. The staff scattered to their stations. There was nothing they could do about the singer. They just had to make sure everything else was perfect. Maria felt a little sorry for Mr. Peterson, even though he was not always kind to the staff. This was not his fault. The dinner service began. Regular guests filled the main dining room. Maria moved through her routine, taking orders, serving food, clearing plates. But she could hear the chaos from the private dining room. Mr. Peterson kept running back and forth. The Ashford family had arrived, along with about 40 of their friends and business associates. Mr. Cortez had arrived too, a tall man with silver hair and an expensive suit. Maria caught a glimpse of him through the doorway. He looked calm, but there was something in his eyes. Disappointment, maybe, or worry. Robert was playing the piano in the main dining room, but Maria knew they had planned to move him to the private dining room during the party. Now he would have to do double duty, playing for both rooms without a singer to help create the special atmosphere they had promised. At 7:30, Maria carried a tray of dirty dishes toward the kitchen. The corridor between the dining room and the kitchen was empty and quiet, away from the noise of the restaurant. She started humming without thinking about it. It was a habit she had developed over the years. Humming calmed her nerves during busy shifts. It made the time pass faster. It reminded her that there was still music inside her, even if no one else ever heard it. Tonight she was humming an old jazz standard, something her mother used to sing when Maria was little. The melody was smooth and sad and beautiful. Maria's voice echoed softly off the walls of the narrow corridor. For just a moment, she let herself sing a few words instead of just humming. Her voice came out stronger than she expected, filling the small space with sound. She did not notice the man standing at the end of the corridor until she almost walked into him. She gasped and nearly dropped her tray. It was Mr. Cortez, the owner. He was staring at her with an expression she could not read. "I am so sorry, sir," Maria said quickly, her face burning with embarrassment. "I did not see you there. I should not have been singing while working." I apologize, but Mr. Cortez did not look angry. He looked surprised. "Wait," he said. "Sing that again." Maria froze. "Sir, the song you were just singing. Sing it again, please." Maria felt her heart pounding. This was her boss. Well, her boss's boss, the man who owned the restaurant. She could not refuse. But her throat felt tight with fear. She had not sung for anyone except herself in 10 years. What if her voice cracked? What if she forgot the words? What if she was terrible? But Mr. Cortez was waiting. So Maria took a breath and sang. Just one verse of the song. Her voice shook at first, but then it steadied. The melody came back to her like an old friend. She closed her eyes and let the music carry her. When she finished, she opened her eyes. Mr. Cortez was staring at her with his mouth slightly open. "How long have you worked here?" he asked. 3 years, sir." 3 years, he repeated, shaking his head in disbelief. "And you have been working as a waitress?" Maria did not understand the question. "Yes, sir. That is my job." Mr. Cortez ran his hand through his silver hair. "Have you ever performed professionally? Sung in public?" "Not since high school," Maria admitted. "I used to sing in shows and competitions when I was younger. But that was a long time ago. Why did you stop?" The question was simple, but the answer was complicated. Maria thought about her father's death, her mother's medical bills, her brother's college tuition, the acceptance letter to art school that she had never acted on. How could she explain all of that to this rich man in his expensive suit, who probably never had to choose between dreams and survival? "Life got in the way," she said quietly. Mr. Cortez nodded slowly, like he understood more than she had said. Then he did something that changed everything. "I need your help tonight," he said. "We have no singer for the Ashford party. It is a disaster. But I just heard you sing, and you have a remarkable voice. Would you consider performing tonight?" Just for a few hours. 3 or 4 songs, maybe. I will pay you extra, of course. Maria felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. Me? No, I cannot. I am a waitress. I am not a professional singer. I have not sung in front of people in 10 years. I would be terrible. I would ruin everything. I do not think you would be terrible, Mr. Cortez said. I think you would be wonderful. And honestly, we are out of options. The party has already started. I promised them live entertainment. I need someone who can sing, and apparently you can sing. But I do not have anything to wear. I cannot perform in my uniform. We will find something, please. I am asking you to help me. Maria felt panic rising in her chest. This was insane. She could not just walk into a room full of rich, important people and sing. She was nobody. She was just a waitress who hummed in corridors when she thought no one was listening. This was not her life. This was not who she was anymore. But Mr. Cortez was looking at her with desperate hope. And somewhere deep inside, underneath all the fear and doubt, Maria felt something else. A tiny spark of excitement. A whisper of the girl she used to be. The one who had loved standing on stage, the one who had dreamed of singing for audiences. I do not know, she said. I need to think. I understand this is sudden, Mr. Cortez said. But I need an answer soon. The party is happening right now. Maria's mind raced. What would her mother say? Rosa would probably tell her to be practical, to do her regular job and not take risks. But her mother had also been a singer once. Maybe she would understand. And what about the tip she would lose if she was not working her regular tables? But Mr. Cortez said he would pay her extra. How much extra? How much would you pay? She asked, feeling guilty for asking but needing to know. $500 for tonight plus you keep your regular pay, he said immediately. More than fair for a few songs. $500. That was more than she made in a whole week. With that money, she could pay for her mother's medicine for 2 months. She could buy Diego new textbooks. She could fix the leak in the kitchen sink that had been dripping for months. But money was not the only thing that mattered. If she went out there and sang, really sang, she would be opening a door she had sealed shut 10 years ago. She would be letting herself want something again. Want something she could not have. It would hurt too much when it was over. I am scared, she said honestly. Mr. Cortez's face softened. I understand. But sometimes we have to do things that scare us. Sometimes those are the most important things. Maria stood in that corridor for a long moment. The sounds of the restaurant continued around her. Plates clinking. People talking. Robert playing piano. Her regular, safe, predictable life waiting for her. And then there was the other choice. The scary choice. The choice that might break her heart all over again. Okay, she whispered. I will do it. Mr. Cortez's face lit up with relief and joy. Thank you. Thank you so much. Come with me. We need to get you ready. He led her quickly through the restaurant to a small office. Inside, he made a phone call to someone named Barbara, who apparently managed wardrobe for events. While they waited, he asked Maria questions. What songs did she know? What style did she prefer? What key did she sing in? Maria answered as best she could, but her hands were shaking. This was really happening. In less than an hour, she would be standing in front of 40 strangers singing. Not humming in empty corridors. Actually singing where people could hear her, judge her, see her. Barbara arrived with several dresses. She was a short woman with bright red hair and quick movements. She looked Maria up and down with a professional eye. Size 6? She asked. Yes, Maria said. Barbara pulled out a simple black dress. Not too fancy, not too plain. This will work. Classic and elegant. Try it on. Maria changed in the bathroom. The dress fit perfectly. It had short sleeves, a fitted waist, and fell just below her knees. When she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. She looked like someone who belonged on a stage. Not a waitress. A performer. Barbara quickly fixed Maria's hair, taking it down from its bun and styling it in soft waves. She added a touch of makeup. You have beautiful features, Barbara said. I am just enhancing what is already there. Mr. Cortez knocked on the door. Are you ready? They are finishing dinner now. It would be a good time to start. Ready? Maria was not sure she would ever be ready. But she nodded anyway. She followed Mr. Cortez through the restaurant toward the private dining room. With each step, her heart beat faster. Part of her wanted to run away. But another part, the part she had been ignoring for 10 years, was waking up. That part was excited. They reached the entrance to the private dining room. Maria could see the guests inside, sitting at elegant tables, talking and laughing. The crystal chandeliers in this room were even more beautiful than the ones in the main dining area. Light seemed to pour from them like liquid gold. "Robert is expecting you," Mr. Cortez said. "He is at the piano. Just tell him what you want to sing and he will follow you. He is excellent at improvising." "What if I mess up?" "Then you mess up. It happens. The world will not end." He smiled at her. "You are going to be wonderful. I can feel it." Maria wanted to believe him. She took a deep breath and walked into the private dining room. People glanced at her curiously. She made her way to where Robert sat at a beautiful grand piano in the corner. He looked up and smiled. "You must be Maria," he said quietly. "Julian told me you would be singing tonight. What would you like to start with?" Maria's mind went blank. What songs did she even know? Then one came to her. An old standard that her mother used to sing. Simple, beautiful, emotional. "Do you know At Last?" she asked. Robert's smile widened. "Of course. Etta James classic. Great choice." "What key?" They discussed the details quickly. Robert played a soft introduction to get everyone's attention. The conversations in the room began to quiet down. People turned to look at the piano, expecting to see what was happening. And then Robert nodded at Maria. It was time. Maria stepped forward slightly. She saw 40 faces looking at her, waiting, some curious, some impatient, some already preparing to be disappointed. She saw Mr. Cortez standing near the back, watching her with hope and faith. She opened her mouth. For a terrible second, nothing came out. Then Robert played the first notes again, giving her another chance. And Maria sang. Her voice was soft at first, almost a whisper. But then it grew. It filled the room. It soared up to those crystal chandeliers and bounced back down. Every note was clear and true. Every word had meaning. She was not just singing the lyrics. She was feeling them, living them, breathing them. The room went completely silent. People stopped eating. They stopped drinking. They just listened. Maria closed her eyes and let the music take over. She forgot about being scared. She forgot about being just a waitress. She forgot about everything except the song. When she finished, there was a moment of absolute quiet. Then applause. Not polite, scattered applause, but real, enthusiastic applause. People were smiling at her. Some were wiping tears from their eyes. One woman was standing up, clapping hard. Maria felt like she might cry, not from sadness, but from something else, something she did not have a name for. It felt like coming home after being lost for a very long time. It felt like breathing after holding her breath for 10 years. It felt like being alive. She looked over at Mr. Cortez. He was grinning from ear to ear, shaking his head in amazement. He mouthed the words, "I told you," across the room. Robert leaned over. "That was beautiful," he said. "Ready for another?" Maria nodded. She was more than ready. She sang 3 more songs that night. Each one came easier than the last. The fear melted away. The doubt disappeared. She was not perfect. Her voice cracked once. She forgot a word and had to improvise. But none of that mattered. What mattered was that she was singing. Really singing, the way she was meant to, the way she had been born to. When she finished her last song, the applause was even louder than before. Several people came up to her afterward to say how much they had enjoyed her performance. An older gentleman introduced himself as Jonathan Ashford, the host of the party. "You made this evening truly special," he said. "Thank you." Maria floated back to the staff area later that night, still wearing the black dress, still feeling the music vibrating through her body. Mr. Cortez found her there. He handed her an envelope. "500 as promised," he said. "But honestly, you are worth much more."
Have you ever thought about doing this professionally?
Maria laughed, but it came out shaky. "I am a waitress." This was just one night. A strange, wonderful, impossible night. But it does not change anything. "Why not?" Mr. Cortez asked seriously. "You have real talent, Maria, genuine talent." "That is rare. Why waste it?" "Because talent does not pay rent," Maria said. The words came out harsher than she meant them to. "I have responsibilities. People who depend on me. I cannot just quit my job and become a singer. That is not how real life works." Mr. Cortez looked at her for a long moment. "Maybe not," he said. "But maybe you do not have to choose. What if you kept your job here but sang on weekends? We could use a regular performer. Our guest would love it. You would make extra money and still have the security of your regular paycheck. Maria stared at him.
Are you serious?
Completely serious. Think about it. You do not have to decide tonight. But at least consider it. After he left, Maria changed back into her regular clothes. She looked at the envelope of money in her hands. $500 for a few songs. More than that, though, she felt different. Awake. Like she had been sleeping for 10 years and someone had finally shaken her awake. She drove home with the windows down even though the night air was cold. She wanted to feel everything. When she got to the apartment, her mother was still awake, sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of tea. "You are late tonight," Rosa said. Then she looked at Maria more closely. "What happened? You look strange. Are you okay?" Maria stood in front of the mirror in the staff bathroom, staring at her reflection. It had been 3 months since that first night she sang at the Ashford party. 3 months since her life became split into 2 completely different versions of herself. On her right shoulder sat her waitress uniform. On her left hung the simple black dress she now wore every Friday and Saturday night when she performed. 2 versions of Maria. The practical one who served food and collected tips. The other one who stood under crystal lights and sang. She was not sure who the real Maria was anymore. Maybe both, maybe neither. She had accepted Mr. Cortez's offer the Monday after the Ashford party. How could she not? The money was too good to refuse, and her mother's words kept echoing in her mind. Do not let fear decide your life. So Maria had agreed to sing 2 nights a week, Friday and Saturday, while continuing to work her regular waitressing shifts the other days. It seemed like the perfect solution. Security plus possibility, safety plus dreams, except nothing was simple. Nothing was easy. Maria had not expected how hard it would be to live in both worlds at once. She tied her hair back into the neat bun she wore for waitressing and walked out to start her Thursday afternoon shift. In the dining room, Jessica was already setting up her section. She glanced at Maria and then looked away quickly. Jessica had been cold to her for weeks now. So had several of the other servers. "Good afternoon," Maria said, trying to sound friendly. "Hey," Jessica replied without looking at her. The silence between them felt heavy. Maria knew why Jessica was upset. They all were upset. When Maria had started singing on weekends, Mr. Peterson had taken her off the regular weekend schedule for waitressing. That meant the other servers had to cover those shifts. They got the tips Maria would have earned, but they also saw it as Maria getting special treatment, getting to do something more important while they did the boring work. Marcus had said it out loud last week. Must be nice to be the boss's favorite. Some of us just work here, but you get to be a star. His words had stung because they were not completely fair. Maria still worked hard. She still showed up for every shift. She still did her job well, but she could not make them understand. They did not know about her father, about the dream she had given up, about the 10 years of silence. They just saw someone getting something they did not have. The afternoon shift was quiet. Only a few tables. Maria moved through her routine, but she felt the other servers watching her, judging her, whispering when they thought she could not hear. She ate her lunch alone in the staff room, as she did every day now. It was lonely, but she told herself it was worth it. At 6 o'clock, her shift ended. She drove across town to a small music studio where she had started taking voice lessons. This was another new thing in her life. If she was going to sing professionally, even just on weekends, she needed training. Real training. Her voice was good, but it was raw, untrained. She needed to learn proper technique so she would not damage her vocal cords. Her teacher was a woman named Gloria Chen. She was in her 50s with short gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had been a professional opera singer before retiring to teach. She was strict and demanding, and did not give empty compliments. Maria both loved and feared her lessons. "You are late," Gloria said when Maria rushed into the studio at 6:15. "I am sorry. Traffic was bad." Gloria did not accept excuses. A professional is never late. If you want to be a professional singer, you must act like one. Now warm up your voice. We have work to do. For the next hour, Gloria pushed Maria hard. Breathing exercises, scales, technical drills that made Maria's jaw and throat tired. Gloria was always correcting her. More breath support. Open your throat. Relax your shoulders. Feel the resonance in your chest. No, again. Sometimes Maria wanted to cry from frustration. She had thought she could sing. But Gloria showed her how much she did not know, how many bad habits she had, how much work it would take to become truly good. You have natural talent, Gloria said near the end of the lesson. But natural talent is just the beginning. Discipline is what separates amateurs from professionals. You must practice every day, not when you feel like it. Every single day. Can you commit to that? Maria thought about her schedule. She worked at the restaurant 5 days a week. She sang 2 nights. She took care of her mother. She tried to keep the apartment clean. She grocery shopped and paid bills and did laundry. When was she supposed to find time to practice every day? I will try, Maria said. Gloria's eyes narrowed. Try is not good enough. Either you will do it or you will not. Which is it? I will do it, Maria said, even though she had no idea how. After the lesson, she sat in her car in the parking lot and cried. Just for a few minutes. She was so tired. Tired of working 2 jobs. Tired of trying to be 2 people. Tired of never having enough time or energy. She had thought that singing again would make her happy. And it did when she was actually performing. But the rest of the time it just made everything more complicated. Her phone buzzed. A text from Diego, her brother. Can you pick me up from college? Car won't start. Maria looked at the clock. It was already 7:30. She had planned to go home, eat dinner, and practice for an hour before bed. Now she would have to drive 30 minutes to Diego's college, then 30 minutes back. There went her practice time. There went her rest, but Diego needed her. So she texted back. On my way. The campus was busy when she arrived. Students everywhere, young and carefree, laughing and talking. Maria felt a sharp pain in her chest. She should have been one of them. 10 years ago. She should have gone to performing arts school. She should have had that chance to just be young and focus on learning her craft. Instead, she had gone straight to work. Straight to responsibility. Diego got in the car, his arms full of textbooks. He was 20 years old and looked so much like their father that sometimes it hurt Maria to look at him. Thanks for coming, he said. I think I need a new battery. Maybe this weekend we can get one. A new battery would cost at least $100. Money she did not really have right now. But she nodded. Sure, we will figure it out. As they drove home, Diego talked about his classes, his projects, his dreams of becoming an engineer. Maria listened and felt a mix of pride and sadness. Pride because he was doing so well. Sadness because she was giving up her dreams so he could chase his. But that was okay. That was what family did. Someone had to sacrifice. It might as well be her. Friday came. Maria's singing night. She arrived at Le Chandelier early to prepare. Mr. Cortez had been wonderful to her, always encouraging, always supportive. But she could feel Mr. Peterson's resentment. He had never liked that Mr. Cortez had made this arrangement without really consulting him. He felt undermined, so he made small comments, little digs about how some people got special treatment. Maria tried to ignore him. She changed into her black dress and did her makeup. Robert, the pianist, arrived and they reviewed the songs for tonight. They had developed a good partnership. He understood her style and could follow her intuitively. But even with Robert, Maria sometimes felt alone. He was friendly but distant. He had his own life, his own concerns. The evening began. Maria sang her first set. The guests seemed to enjoy it. Applause, smiles, a few people stopped to compliment her afterward. But Maria could not help comparing tonight to that first magical night at the Ashford party. That night had felt special, extraordinary. Now it was becoming routine. Just part of the job. The magic was fading. Between sets, she went to the staff room to rest her voice and drink tea with honey. Jessica was there, changing into her uniform for the late shift. They made eye contact for a brief moment. Maria thought about saying something, trying to fix whatever had broken between them. But Jessica turned away and the moment passed. Maria felt a deep loneliness settle over her. She was surrounded by people every night, but she had no real friends here anymore. The other servers resented her. The guests were just guests, temporary strangers. Mr. Cortez and Robert were kind, but not close. She existed in a strange in-between space belonging nowhere. Saturday night was similar. More singing, more applause, more loneliness underneath the performance. When she got home late that night, her mother was waiting up. Rosa looked worried. You look exhausted, mija, she said. Are you taking care of yourself? I am fine, Mama, just tired. This is too much. Working all day and singing all night, you barely sleep, you barely eat. This is not healthy. I can handle it, Maria insisted. But even as she said it, she knew her mother was right. She was exhausted. She had lost weight. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. She was running on empty. Maybe you should stop the singing, Rosa said gently. Go back to just waitressing. It is too much stress. Maria felt panic at the thought. No, I cannot stop. I am finally doing what I love. I cannot give that up again. But at what cost? Rosa asked. You are making yourself sick. Is it worth it? Maria did not know how to answer. She went to bed without responding. But the question followed her into sleep. Is it worth it? She was not sure anymore. The weeks continued. Maria's routine became a blur of work and exhaustion. Waitress shifts, voice lessons, singing performances, grocery shopping, cooking, cleaning, paying bills, driving Diego places, taking her mother to doctor appointments. Practice, 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 sleep when she could, coffee to stay awake, more work, more singing, more exhaustion. Gloria kept pushing her in lessons. You are not improving as fast as you should. Are you practicing? I am trying, Maria said. But the truth was she often skipped practice because she was too tired or did not have time. Gloria's disappointment was clear. One Thursday afternoon, Maria was waitressing when something happened. She was carrying a tray of dishes when suddenly the room spun. Everything went blurry. Her knees gave out and she fell hard. The dishes crashed around her, shattering into pieces. Mr. Peterson rushed over, his face red with anger. Maria, what happened? Do you know how expensive those plates are? But Maria could not answer. She was on the floor trying to catch her breath, trying to stop the room from spinning. Marcus helped her up. His expression was concerned, which surprised her. You okay? He asked quietly. I do not know, she whispered. They made her sit down in the back. Mr. Peterson was furious about the broken dishes, but Mr. Cortez, who happened to be visiting that day, overheard what happened. He came to check on her himself. Maria, when was the last time you ate today? He asked. She tried to remember. This morning, I think. Maybe yesterday, I cannot remember. When did you last sleep a full night? I sleep, she said defensively. How many hours? 4? 5? I do not know. Mr. Cortez looked at her with concern and something else. Maybe guilt. This is my fault, he said. I should not have asked you to do so much. It is too much pressure. No, Maria said quickly. I can handle it. I just need to eat something. I will be fine. But she was not fine. Over the next few days, Maria had to face a hard truth. She could not keep living like this. Something had to change, but what? She could not give up her regular job. She needed that steady paycheck and health insurance, but she also could not give up singing. Now that she had remembered what it felt like, stopping would break her heart all over again. She was trapped between two impossible choices: be practical and safe but dead inside, or chase her dreams and risk everything, including her family's security. The following weekend, something else happened that made everything worse. A woman came to the restaurant on Saturday night. She sat alone at a table near the front and ordered only coffee. Maria did not pay much attention to her at first, but the woman stayed through Maria's entire performance, watching intently, taking notes. After Maria's last song, the woman approached her. She was about 40, well-dressed with blonde hair and confident eyes. My name is Rachel Stone, she said. I am a talent manager. I work with several singers in the city. I've been hearing about you from various people. Tonight I wanted to hear you for myself. Maria's heart started racing. A talent manager. This was the kind of person who could actually help someone build a real career. What did you think? Maria asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Rachel chose her words carefully. You have a lovely voice, natural and warm. But honestly, you are very rough around the edges. Your technique needs work. Your stage presence is uncertain. You seem uncomfortable, like you are not sure you should be there. If you want to make it as a professional singer, you need serious training and development. The words hurt, even though Rachel was not being mean, just honest. I am taking voice lessons, Maria said. That is a good start. But you need more than that. You need to perform regularly, build a repertoire, develop your confidence, network with the right people. This is not something you can do working as a waitress. You would need to commit fully. Make this your priority, not your side job. Maria felt her dreams cracking. I cannot quit my job. I have responsibilities. Rachel nodded. I understand. Many talented people are in the same situation. But the reality is that making it in this business requires total commitment. Half measures rarely lead to real success. If you ever decide you are ready to go all in, here is my card. But think carefully before you call. I only work with people who are serious about their careers. After Rachel left, Maria stood in the empty dining room feeling like she might cry. The message was clear. If she wanted to be a real singer, she had to choose. She could not keep doing both. She could not keep living in between. That night, she sat on her bed and finally pulled out the old Nike shoebox from under the bed. She opened it slowly. Inside was everything from her past. Her father's tie still smelled faintly of his cologne. The programs from her high school shows showed a young Maria smiling confidently. The acceptance letter from art school was yellowed now but still readable. At the bottom was a photo she had forgotten about. It showed her on stage at age 17, singing in the school musical. Her arms were spread wide, her face was pure joy, her whole body was alive with passion. That girl had believed anything was possible. That girl had no doubt that she would become a professional singer someday. Maria looked at that girl and barely recognized her. What had happened? When had she stopped believing? When had she become so afraid? She knew the answer. When her father died. When she had to become the practical one, the responsible one, the one who held everything together. She had put that joyful girl in a box and closed the lid. For 10 good years, the lid stayed closed. Now it was open. And Maria did not know if she could close it again. But she also did not know if she was brave enough to let that girl out completely. To really, truly choose the uncertain path of a singing career. She looked around her small bedroom. The walls were thin. She could hear her mother's breathing in the next room, slow and steady. Rosa's medication sat on the bathroom counter, a daily reminder of how much money Maria needed to earn. Diego's college books were stacked by the door, another reminder of responsibility. How could she choose herself when so many people depended on her? How could she be selfish when her family needed her to be selfless? But then she heard her mother's words again. Do not make my mistake. Do not let fear decide your life. And Rachel's words, half measures rarely lead to real success. Maria closed the box but did not put it back under the bed. She set it on her dresser where she could see it. A reminder that she used to be someone who took risks, someone who believed in herself, someone who wanted more than just survival. She did not have an answer yet. She did not know what choice she would make. But she knew she could not keep living like this, split in two, belonging nowhere, exhausted and lonely, and slowly losing herself. Something would have to change. Soon. The only question was whether she would make the change herself or whether life would make it for her. And whether, when the choice finally came, she would have the courage to choose the life she wanted instead of the life she thought she should want. Under the crystal lights every weekend Maria sang, and every weekend the magic felt a little more real and a little more impossible at the same time. The gap between who she was and who she wanted to be kept growing wider. Soon, she knew she would have to jump across that gap or fall into it. She just hoped that when the moment came, she would be brave enough to jump. 6 months had passed since that first magical night when Maria had sung for the Ashford party. Half a year of living between two worlds, and the weight of it was crushing her slowly, like being squeezed between two heavy stones. Each day she woke up not knowing which version of herself she was supposed to be. Each night she fell asleep more exhausted than the night before. It was a Tuesday afternoon in late autumn. Maria had just finished her lunch shift at Le Chandelier. The restaurant was quiet between services. She sat in the staff room, eating leftover pasta and staring at her phone. Rachel Stone's business card was tucked into her phone case. She looked at it every day but had never called. What would be the point? She could not afford to quit her job. The conversation would just be painful. But today something felt different. Today she was so tired that she could barely think straight. Today she had looked in the mirror and not recognized the exhausted stranger staring back at her. Today she felt like she was disappearing, turning into a ghost who moved through life without really living it. Her phone rang. It was Diego. "Hey Maria, can you come pick me up? My car broke down again." Maria closed her eyes. The battery they had bought 6 weeks ago had not fixed the real problem. Diego's car was old and dying and needed at least $2,000 in repairs they did not have. "Diego, I am at work. Can you take the bus?" "The next bus is not for 2 hours. I have to get to my study group. We have a big exam tomorrow." Of course he did. And of course Maria would have to leave work early and drive across town to get him, because that was what she did. She solved everyone's problems. She carried everyone's weight. She said yes even when she wanted to scream no. "Okay, give me 30 minutes. After she hung up, Maria sat very still. She felt something breaking inside her, like a crack running through glass. She was breaking. She had been breaking for months, maybe for years. How long could one person hold everything together before they fell apart? Mr. Peterson walked into the staff room. "Maria, I need you to cover Jessica's evening shift tonight." She called in sick. "I cannot," Maria said. "I have a voice lesson tonight." Mr. Peterson's face turned red. "Your voice lesson?" "Maria, we are short-staffed. I need you here. And I need to go to my lesson. I have already paid for it. This is your job. Your real job. That singing thing is just a hobby. You need to get your priorities straight." Something in Maria snapped. The crack in the glass spread wider. "A hobby? You think this is a hobby? Singing is the only thing that makes me feel alive. This job is what I have to do. Singing is who I am." Mr. Peterson looked shocked. Maria never talked back. She always said yes. She always did what was asked. "If you cannot be reliable, maybe you should reconsider your employment here," he said coldly. "Maybe I should," Maria heard herself say. The words came out before she could stop them. "Are you quitting?" Was she? Maria did not know. She stood up, grabbed her purse, and walked out without answering. Her hands were shaking. What had she just done? She drove to Diego's college in a daze. Her mind was racing but also empty. She had just threatened her job security, her health insurance, her steady paycheck, everything her family depended on. And for what? For singing? For dreams? Diego got in the car. "Thanks for coming. You okay? You look weird." "I think I just quit my job," Maria said. "What? Are you serious?" "I do not know. Maybe. I think so." Diego stared at her. "Maria, what are you going to do? How will we pay for Mom's medicine? How will I afford next semester?" "I do not know." The words came out as a shout. Maria never shouted. "I do not know, Diego. I do not have all the answers. I cannot fix everything. I'm just one person and I am so tired. I am so tired." She pulled the car over to the side of the road because her vision was blurring with tears. She put her head on the steering wheel and cried. Not quiet, polite crying. Real crying. The kind that came from deep inside, the kind she had been holding back for months. Diego looked terrified. "Maria, I am sorry. I did not mean to. I know you do so much for us. I am sorry." Maria could not stop crying. 10 years of tears seemed to pour out all at once. Tears for her father. Tears for the dream she had given up. Tears for the girl she used to be. Tears for the exhausted woman she had become. Tears for the impossible choice she could not make. When she finally stopped, she felt empty but also somehow lighter. Like she had been carrying a heavy backpack and had finally set it down. "I cannot do this anymore," she said quietly. "I cannot keep trying to be everything for everyone. I am going to break. I think I'm already breaking." Diego was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that surprised her. "Then stop. Stop trying to do everything. We will figure it out. Mom and me, we will figure it out. But you need me." "Yeah, we do. But we need you to be okay more than we need you to kill yourself trying to take care of us. If you quit your job to sing, we will manage. I can get a job. Mom's medicine, we will find a way. We always do. But your college, I can work and go to school at the same time. Lots of people do it. Maria, you have been taking care of us since Dad died. Maybe it is time you took care of yourself." Maria looked at her little brother. When had he grown up? When had he become wise? I am scared, she whispered, I know. But you are also amazing. I hear you practicing at night when you think everyone is asleep. You have real talent. Maybe it is time to see what you can do with it. Maria drove Diego to his study group and then drove home. Her mother was watching television in the living room. Rosa took one look at Maria's face and turned off the TV. What happened? Maria told her everything. About the fight with Mr. Peterson. About Rachel Stone's business card. About feeling like she was breaking. About not knowing what to do. When she finished, Rosa was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "When I was your age, I sang in nightclubs in Mexico City. I was good. People told me I could be a star. But I was afraid. Afraid of failure. Afraid of what people would think. Afraid of taking a chance. So I married your father and came to America and I stopped singing. I told myself it was the practical choice. The responsible choice. The right choice." She paused, her eyes distant with memory. "But you know what? I regret it. Not marrying your father. I loved him with all my heart. But I regret that I let fear stop me from even trying. I will never know what I could have been. I will always wonder. That wondering, it hurts more than failure ever could." "But what about money?" Maria asked. "What about being practical? Money comes and goes. But you only get one life. One chance to be who you really are. I do not want you to be 60 years old looking back wondering what if. I would rather struggle a little now than have you live with that regret forever." Maria felt something shift inside her. The crack in the glass was spreading, but maybe it was not breaking. Maybe it was breaking open. Maybe she needed to break open to let the light in. That night, Maria could not sleep. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking. At 3 a.m, she got up and pulled out Rachel Stone's business card. She looked at it in the dim light from the street lamp outside her window. What would happen if she called? What would happen if she did not? She thought about Mr. Peterson's words. That singing thing is just a hobby. This is your real job. Was waitressing her real job? Was serving other people's food her purpose in life? Was that all she was meant to be? She thought about Gloria Chen's words. Discipline is what separates amateurs from professionals. Could she be professional? Could she be disciplined enough? Or would she fail? She thought about Rachel's words. Making it in this business requires total commitment. Was she ready for total commitment? Was she brave enough? The questions spun around and around in her mind. But underneath all the questions was one simple truth. She could not keep living split in two. Something had to give. The question was not whether to change. The question was what kind of change she would choose. Would she close the lid on the shoebox again and go back to being just a waitress, safe, secure, slowly dying inside? Or would she jump into the unknown, risk everything, choose herself for once? As the sun began to rise, Maria made her decision. She did not know if it was the right decision. She did not know if it would work out. But she knew it was her decision. Not fear's decision, not obligation's decision. Hers. At 9 o'clock, she called Rachel Stone. "This is Rachel. Hi, Mrs. Stone. This is Maria Santos. We met at Le Chandelier about a month ago. You gave me your card." There was a pause. "Maria, yes, I remember." The waitress with the beautiful voice. "What can I do for you?" Maria took a deep breath. "I want to be a professional singer. Not as a hobby. Not part-time, for real. I want to know what it takes. I want to know if I can do it. And I want you to tell me the truth, even if the truth is that I am not good enough." Rachel was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Are you free this afternoon? Come to my office. Let's talk about what would be involved. Then you can decide if you are really ready for this." "I will be there." "What time?" 2 o'clock. "I will text you the address." After she hung up, Maria felt her heart pounding. What had she just done? She looked around her small bedroom. On the dresser sat the Nike shoebox with its memories. On the wall hung a calendar with all her work shifts marked. On her phone were messages from Mr. Peterson asking if she was coming back. She typed a message to him. "I need to speak with you. Can we meet today before my shift?" He responded immediately. "Come in at 3. We need to discuss your behavior yesterday." Maria's meeting with Rachel was at 2. That would give her 1 hour to hear what Rachel had to say and then decide. 1 hour to choose her future. She spent the morning pacing, practicing, changing clothes 5 times. She called Gloria and explained what was happening. Gloria was surprisingly supportive. Good, it is about time you made a choice. You have talent, Maria. But talent without commitment is just wasted potential. If you are serious about this, I will help you. But you have to be all in. I am scared, Maria admitted. Everyone is scared. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is doing it anyway. At 1:30, Maria drove to Rachel's office. It was in a modern building downtown, the kind of place where important people worked. She rode the elevator to the 10th floor, her stomach in knots. Rachel's office was small but professional. Gold records on the walls from artists she had worked with, photos of performances, a desk covered with papers and sheet music. Sit down, Rachel said, gesturing to a chair. Tell me why you want this. Maria had prepared an answer. She was going to talk about passion and talent and dreams. But when she opened her mouth, what came out was simpler. Because I cannot breathe when I am not singing. Because I feel like I am slowly disappearing. Because if I do not try, I will regret it for the rest of my life. Rachel nodded. Good, that is a real reason. Now let me tell you what it will actually take. For the next 30 minutes, Rachel laid out the hard truth. Maria would need to quit her job. She would need to train intensively for at least 6 months. She would need to perform at small venues to build experience. She would need to make demo recordings. She would need to network, audition, face rejection over and over. She would need to probably work part-time jobs that were flexible enough to allow for auditions and performances. She would make very little money for a year or more. Maybe several years. Maybe forever. Most people who try this fail, Rachel said bluntly. Not because they are not talented, but because they give up when it gets hard. And it will get hard, harder than you can imagine. Are you prepared for that? I do not know, Maria said honestly. But I am prepared to try. I am prepared to work harder than I have ever worked. I am prepared to fail if I have to, but I am not prepared to never try. Rachel studied her face. I believe you. Okay, here's what I can offer. I will take you on as a client. I will guide you, make introductions, help you find opportunities, but I cannot guarantee success. I can only guarantee that you will have a real shot. What you do with that shot is up to you. What do I need to do first? First, you need to quit your restaurant job. You cannot build a singing career working full-time as a waitress. Second, you need to increase your voice lessons to 3 times a week. Third, you need to perform. I have connections to several small venues that are always looking for talent. Fourth, you need to record a demo. I know a studio that gives reasonable rates. And fifth, you need to be patient. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Maria thought about the money in her savings account. About $3,000. Enough to survive for maybe 2 months if she was very careful. After that, she did not know. I will do it, she said. Rachel smiled. It was the first time Maria had seen her smile. Good. Welcome to the hardest thing you will ever do. I will be in touch with next steps. Maria left the office feeling dizzy. She had just committed to changing her entire life. She looked at her phone. It was 2:45. She had 15 minutes to get to Le Chandelier. She arrived at 2:55. Mr. Peterson was waiting in his office, his face stern. Sit down, Maria. We need to talk about your attitude yesterday. Maria sat down. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady when she spoke. Actually, Mr. Peterson, I need to give you my notice. I am quitting. My last day will be 2 weeks from today. Mr. Peterson's mouth fell open. You are quitting? Because I asked you to cover a shift? No, I am quitting because I have another opportunity. A chance to pursue singing professionally. I need to take it while I can. This is ridiculous. You are throwing away a steady job for some fantasy. You are not going to make it as a singer. Do you know how many people try and fail? Maybe I will fail, Maria said. But at least I will try. I have spent 10 years playing it safe. I do not want to be safe anymore. I want to be alive. Mr. Peterson shook his head. You are making a huge mistake. Maybe, but it is my mistake to make. She stood up and walked out of the office. Out through the dining room where those crystal chandeliers hung silent and dark. Out through the door into the parking lot. Into her car. She sat there for a moment, her heart racing. She had just quit her job. She had just chosen the uncertain path. She had just bet everything on herself. What had she done? But then she felt it. Underneath the fear, underneath the doubt, underneath the panic. She felt something else. Something light and warm and powerful. She felt hope, real hope. Not the sad, small hope that maybe one day things would get better. But big, brave hope that she was making them better herself. She called her mother. Rosa answered on the first ring. Mija, what happened? How did your meetings go? Maria started to cry, but this time they were different tears. Happy tears, scared tears, hopeful tears. Mama, I did it. I quit my job. I'm going to try to be a singer, for real. I am so scared, but I did it. She heard her mother's voice crack with emotion. I am so proud of you, Maria, so proud. Your father would be proud too. You are brave, Mija. So much braver than I ever was. I do not feel brave. I feel terrified. That is what brave is. Doing it even though you are terrified. Maria drove home with tears streaming down her face and a smile on her lips. She did not know what would happen next. She did not know if she would succeed or fail. But she knew one thing. She had chosen. Finally, after 10 years, she had chosen herself. She had chosen her dreams. She had chosen to try. Under those crystal lights, she had remembered who she used to be. Now she was going to find out who she could become. It would be hard. It would be scary. It would probably hurt, but it would be real. And real was what she needed more than anything. That night, Maria sat at her kitchen table with her mother and brother. They looked at her savings account balance. They looked at the bills. They made a plan. Diego would get a part-time job. Rosa would apply for assistance programs for her medication. They would cut expenses everywhere they could. For the first time, they would do this together. Maria would not have to carry everything alone. We are a family, Diego said. Families support each other. You have been supporting us for 10 years. Now it is our turn to support you. Maria looked at the people she loved most in the world. They were scared too, but they were also hopeful. They believed in her, and maybe finally she could start believing in herself. She pulled out the Nike shoebox one last time. She looked at the programs, the photos, the acceptance letter, her father's tie. Then she did something she had never done before. She took everything out and put it up on her walls. The programs, the photos, the letter. She hung her father's tie on her doorknob. She was not hiding anymore. She was not keeping her dreams locked away. That night she sang in her room, not quietly, worrying about disturbing the neighbors, but loudly, freely, joyfully. She sang until her voice was tired. She sang until her heart felt full. 18 months later, Maria stood in front of a different mirror in a different dressing room. This one was smaller and dirtier than the staff bathroom at Le Chandelier. The light bulb flickered. The paint was peeling. The door did not lock properly. But Maria did not care. This was her dressing room at the Blue Note, a small jazz club on the east side of town. And tonight, she was the headliner. The girl in the mirror looked different from the exhausted waitress of 2 years ago. She was thinner, but not from stress this time, from discipline. Her eyes had dark circles, but they were bright with purpose instead of dull with despair. Her hair was styled simply but confidently. She wore a deep blue dress that she had bought from a thrift store and altered herself. Nothing fancy, but it fit her. It belonged to her. This was her. Maria heard the club filling up outside. Voices, laughter, the clink of glasses. A decent crowd for a Wednesday night. Not huge, but respectable. People who came specifically to hear her sing. Followers she had built slowly. One performance at a time, one social media post at a time, one recommendation at a time. 15 minutes, called Jerry, the club manager, knocking on her door. Thank you, Maria called back. She stood up and did her vocal warm-ups. The exercises Gloria had drilled into her head were now automatic. Breathing from the diaphragm, opening the throat, relaxing the jaw. She had practiced every single day for 18 months, not when she felt like it. Every day, just like Gloria had said she must. Those 18 months had been the hardest of her life. Harder than the 3 years of juggling 2 jobs. Harder than the years after her father died. Harder than anything she had imagined. When she had first quit Le Chandelier, people had thought she was crazy. Mr. Peterson had told her she was making the biggest mistake of her life. Some of the servers had laughed, certain she would come crawling back within a month. Even people who loved her, like Jessica from work, had looked at her with pity, like she was a child chasing an impossible dream. The first 3 months had been the worst. Maria had thrown herself into training. Voice lessons 3 times a week with Gloria. Dance classes to improve her stage presence. Music theory classes to understand what she was singing. Practicing at home for hours every day. Reaching out to venues for performance opportunities. Most said no. Some never responded. A few said maybe. Her savings had run out faster than expected. The voice lessons, the dance classes, the clothes she needed for performances, the demo recording Rachel had arranged. Everything cost money. Money she did not have. She had been forced to take a job at a coffee shop, working early morning shifts so she could have afternoons and evenings free for training and performing. The pay was terrible. No benefits, no security, but it was flexible, and that was what mattered. Her first real performance after quitting the restaurant had been at an open mic night at a tiny cafe. Maybe 20 people in the audience, most of them not paying attention, talking over the music. Maria had been so nervous she almost threw up backstage. Her voice had shaken on the first song. She had forgotten the lyrics to the second. By the third, she was crying on stage, overwhelmed by fear and disappointment. She had run off the stage and hidden in the bathroom, certain she had made a terrible mistake. Rachel had found her there. "You were bad tonight," Rachel had said bluntly. "Really bad. But you know what? Everyone is bad at first. The only way to get better is to keep doing it. So dry your tears and get back out there." "I cannot," Maria had whispered. "I am not good enough. Mr. Peterson was right. I am never going to make it." "Maybe not," Rachel had said. "Maybe you will fail. But if you quit now, you definitely will fail. The only way to find out is to keep going. So what is it going to be? Give up after one bad performance? Or keep fighting?" Maria had looked at herself in that bathroom mirror. Tear-stained face, ruined makeup, fear in her eyes. She had thought about her father's tie hanging on her doorknob at home. She had thought about her mother's words, "I regret that I let fear stop me from even trying." She had thought about 10 years of silence, of hiding, of playing it safe. She had washed her face, fixed her makeup, and gone back out to sing one more song. It had still been bad, but she had done it. She had faced the fear and done it anyway. That became her motto for the next year: face the fear and do it anyway. Every audition that ended in rejection, face the fear and audition again. Every performance where people talked through her songs, face the fear and keep singing. Every month when the rent was due and she barely had enough, face the fear and keep going. She had auditioned for over 30 different opportunities. Restaurant gigs, wedding singer positions, background vocals for local bands, competitions, showcases. She had been rejected 27 times. Some rejections were kind. "You are good, but not quite what we are looking for." Some were cruel. "You do not have the look." "Your voice is nice, but not special enough." "You are too old to be breaking into this industry." Each rejection had hurt. Each one had made her question whether she should give up. But each time she had thought about her choice. She had chosen this, not the easy path, the hard path, the uncertain path, and she had promised herself she would see it through. 3 rejections had turned into yeses. Small things but important: background vocals for a local band's recording session, a regular Sunday afternoon slot at a wine bar, a series of performances at a senior center. Not glamorous, not what she had dreamed of as a teenager, but professional work, paid work, experience. Her family had struggled too. Diego had taken a job at a bookstore, working 20 hours a week on top of his full class schedule. It had been hard on him, but he never complained. Rosa had applied for assistance programs and found ways to save money on groceries, on utilities, on everything. They had all pulled together. Some months were so tight that Maria had not known how they would make it. There were nights she ate only rice and beans. Weeks she walked instead of driving to save gas money. Times she had seriously considered giving up, going back to Le Chandelier, begging for her old job back. But always something had pulled her forward. Her mother's pride, her brother's support, Gloria's tough encouragement, Rachel's strategic guidance, Robert, her old pianist friend from the restaurant, who had started accompanying her at some of her gigs for free, just because he believed in her. And most of all, the feeling she got when she sang. That sense of being fully alive, fully herself, fully present. About 6 months after she quit the restaurant, something small but important happened. A local music blogger came to one of her wine bar performances. She wrote a review. It was not a rave. It was honest, noting Maria's technical flaws and inexperience. But it also said this: "Maria Santos has something special. Raw and unpolished, yes. But there is an authenticity to her voice that is rare in today's overproduced music scene. She sings like someone who has lived, who has suffered, who understands what the songs mean. Keep an eye on this one." That review led to other people noticing her. A small write-up in the local newspaper, an interview on a community radio station, a few hundred new followers on social media. Nothing huge, but momentum, forward movement, progress. Then, about a year after she quit, Rachel got her an audition for something bigger. A local record producer named Michael Torres was looking for new artists to feature on a compilation album of jazz and soul standards. It was a small label, nothing like the major companies, but it was a real record deal, a chance to get her voice on an actual album that would be distributed and sold. Maria had prepared for that audition like her life depended on it. Because in a way it did. She had practiced the songs hundreds of times. She had worked with Gloria on every detail. She had visualized success. She had also visualized failure and decided she would be okay either way. The day of the audition, she had walked into Michael's studio with her hands shaking but her head high. She sang 3 songs. When she finished, Michael had been quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "You have something. I am not sure what it is, but you have something. Let's work together." That recording session had been 6 months ago. They had spent weeks in the studio recording 5 songs for the compilation album. It had been grueling work. Michael was a perfectionist. Every note had to be exact. Every breath had to be intentional. Every emotion had to be real. Maria had recorded some songs 20 or 30 times before Michael was satisfied. But when they finished, when Maria heard the final mixes, she had cried. Happy tears. Amazed tears. That was her voice, professionally recorded, polished, and powerful. She sounded like a real singer. A professional. The album, called Crystal Lights, had been released 2 months ago. Maria's face was on the cover along with 5 other artists. Her 5 songs were tracks 3 through 7. The album had sold modestly. Not a hit, but respectable for a small independent release. People had bought it. More importantly, people had listened to it. Music critics had reviewed it. Most focused on the other artists who had more experience and bigger names, but a few mentioned Maria. One review said, "The standout discovery on Crystal Lights is Maria Santos, whose emotional interpretation of At Last brings new depth to the classic standard. Her voice has a warmth and vulnerability that draws the listener in." After the album release, opportunities started coming faster. She paused, looking out at the faces watching her. 2 years ago, I was a waitress. I served food and folded napkins and played it safe. I had given up on my dreams because I was afraid. Afraid of failing. Afraid of disappointing people. Afraid of wanting something I could not have. But then someone heard me singing when I thought no one was listening. And they gave me a chance. And I took it, not because I was brave, but because I was more afraid of never trying than I was of failing. She smiled. "Tonight I'm going to sing for you. Some of these songs are on my new album. Some are old favorites. All of them mean something to me. All of them are part of my story, and I hope they become part of yours too." Robert began playing the piano. The opening notes of At Last filled the club. Maria closed her eyes for just a moment, centering herself. Then she opened them and began to sing. Her voice was strong and clear. No shakiness, no fear, just music, pure and honest and real. She sang about love and loss, about hope and heartbreak, about dreams deferred and dreams reclaimed. She sang for the girl she used to be and the woman she had become. She sang for her father, who never got to see this moment. She sang for her mother, who had encouraged her to be brave. She sang for her brother, who had sacrificed so she could chase her dreams. She sang for everyone who had supported her. And she sang for herself. The set lasted 90 minutes. 5 songs that flowed into each other like a story. When she finished, the applause was loud and genuine. People stood up. Some were crying. Maria took a bow, her heart full. After the show, people came up to congratulate her. Mr. Cortez hugged her. "I knew you could do it," he said. "From that first moment in the corridor, I knew." Robert shook her hand. "You have come so far. I am proud to have been part of your journey." Michael Torres approached. "Can we talk tomorrow? I have some ideas I want to discuss." "Of course," Maria said, trying not to sound too eager. Rachel came over after everyone else had left. "Good show tonight." "Really good. You have grown so much in 18 months. But you know this is just the beginning, right? The real work is still ahead of you." "I know," Maria said. "I am ready." And she was. Not because the hard part was over, but because she had learned that she could handle the hard parts. She had learned that she was stronger than she thought. She had learned that choosing yourself was not selfish. It was necessary. It was survival. A few days later, Maria was invited back to Le Chandelier. Not to work. To perform at a special event. Mr. Cortez was celebrating the restaurant's 20th anniversary, and he wanted Maria to sing. She accepted.
Walking back into that dining room felt strange.
The crystal chandeliers were the same. The white tablecloths, the expensive plates, the wealthy guests, all the same. But Maria was different. She was not carrying a tray. She was not wearing a uniform. She was not invisible. She stood on a small stage they had set up near the window. The same place where Robert used to play piano. The same place where she had hummed and dreamed and wished for a different life. Now she had it. During her performance, she noticed the current servers watching her from the edges of the room. She saw the hope in their eyes, the wonder, the possibility. She remembered being them, dreaming of something more, something bigger, something impossible. After the show, one of the young servers approached her shyly. "Mrs. Santos? I just wanted to say, your story is so inspiring. I sing too. Just for fun, you know, but watching you makes me think maybe I could do more with it." Maria smiled. "What is your name?" "Alicia." "Alicia, can I give you some advice?" "Yes, please. Do not wait as long as I did. If you love singing, really love it, do not hide it. Do not lock it away. You do not have to quit your job tomorrow. But find ways to sing, take lessons, perform at open mics, build your skills. And if the time comes when you have to choose between safe and alive, choose alive. It is scarier, but it is worth it." Alicia nodded, her eyes bright. "Thank you. That means a lot." After the event, Mr. Cortez showed Maria something. On the wall near the entrance, in a place of honor, hung a gold record. Her album, Crystal Lights. It had sold enough copies to earn gold certification. It was not a huge number, but it was significant. Proof that she had reached people. Proof that her music mattered. "I want everyone who comes here to see this," Mr. Cortez said. "To see that extraordinary things can come from ordinary places. That dreams do not die. They just wait for the right moment." Maria stood looking at that record, her name printed on it, and felt a sense of completion. Not the end of her journey, but the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. She thought about her father. She wished he could see this moment. But in a way he was here. In the tie she kept in her dressing rooms for good luck. In the values he had taught her about hard work and perseverance. In the love that still guided her even though he was gone. She thought about her mother, at home now, stronger and healthier because Maria's success had eased some of the financial pressure. Rosa sang again sometimes, humming while she cooked, her voice rusty but happy. "You gave me my voice back too," she had told Maria, "by finding yours." She thought about Diego, graduating from college next month with an engineering degree. He had made it. They had both made it in different ways, supporting each other. And she thought about herself, about the scared waitress who had hummed in empty corridors, about the girl who had locked her dreams in a shoebox, about the woman who had finally chosen to open that box and let the dreams out. The path forward was still uncertain. Success in the music industry was unpredictable. Maria might have a long career, or this might be as far as she got. She might record more albums, or this might be her only one. She might perform in bigger venues, or she might spend her career in clubs like the Blue Note. She did not know, but she had learned something important. Success was not about fame or money. It was not about being the best or the most popular. Success was about being brave enough to try. It was about choosing authenticity over safety. It was about living fully instead of just surviving. Under those crystal lights at Le Chandelier 2 years ago, Maria had remembered who she was. She had remembered the girl who loved to sing, who believed anything was possible, who was not afraid to shine. And now, in clubs and studios and small stages across the city, Maria was creating new lights, not crystal chandeliers in fancy restaurants, but spotlights that illuminated her voice, her truth, her journey, lights that showed other people it was okay to dream, okay to try, okay to be imperfect and scared and uncertain, but still move forward. She had transformed from a humble waitress into a singer, not by magic, by courage, by discipline, by choosing herself, by refusing to let fear win, by understanding that the stage was not some distant, impossible place. The stage was wherever she decided to show up fully as herself. The crystal lights had not changed her. They had simply revealed what was already there. A voice that deserved to be heard, a heart that deserved to beat for itself, a life that deserved to be lived out loud, and Maria was finally beautifully, impossibly living it. Not perfectly, not easily, but really, truly, completely living it, and that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. She had learned that you do not need permission to chase your dreams. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to have it all figured out. You just need to start, to take one brave step, then another, until the impossible becomes possible, until the waitress becomes the singer, until the silence becomes music. Under crystal lights, Maria had found herself, and in finding herself, she had found her voice. And once you find your voice, truly find it, no one can ever take it away again. It was hers. It had always been hers. She had just needed to be brave enough to use it. The story was not over. There would be more challenges, more doubts, more hard days. But there would also be more music, more joy, more moments of standing in the light and singing her truth, more chances to inspire others to do the same. Maria walked out of Le Chandelier that night with her head high and her heart full. Outside, the city lights twinkled like stars, like crystal chandeliers scattered across the dark sky. She did not need to serve under those lights anymore. She had learned to create her own, and she would keep creating them. One song at a time, one brave choice at a time, for as long as her voice could sing. That was her gift. Not just to herself, but to everyone who had ever felt small, invisible, stuck, or afraid. The gift of knowing that transformation is possible, that it is never too late, that dreams do not have expiration dates, that the stage is always there waiting. You just have to be brave enough to step onto it. And Maria Santos, once a humble waitress, now a singer with a voice that could fill rooms and touch hearts, had finally learned to be that brave. And she would never stop being brave. Not ever again.